The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built by any known species. It floated in the empty space between three star systems, and its walls were made of crystal that had taken 1,000 years to grow. Inside, representatives from 400 different species sat in chairs designed for their unique bodies. Some had wings, some had tentacles, some floated in water tanks. All of them had come here today for one reason. They wanted answers about the humans. Admiral walked into the hall with her head held high. She was a small woman with short black hair and calm eyes. Behind her walked Captain, a tall man with broad shoulders and a quiet face. They wore simple gray uniforms with a small blue planet sewn on their shoulders. They looked ordinary. They looked weak. The aliens watching them thought they looked like prey. Ambassador stood at the center of the council. He was from a species called the. His body was covered in silver scales, and his eyes were large and yellow. He had served on the council for 200 years, and he had never seen a species rise as fast as humans had. "You may approach," said. His voice echoed through the hall. And walked forward. Their footsteps were the only sound. 400 species watched them in complete silence. "We have called you here to answer questions," said. "Your species joined the galactic community only 50 years ago. In that time, you have spread to 47 star systems. You have built ships that move faster than any we have seen. You have survived conflicts that should have destroyed you. The Council wishes to understand how this is possible." Nodded slowly. "We are happy to answer your questions, Ambassador." His yellow eyes narrowed. "Then let us begin with a simple question. What is its true name?" The translator systems in the hall began to hum. Every species used different words, different sounds, different ways of speaking. The translators turned all of these into meanings that everyone could understand. But sometimes, when a word was very old or very important, the translators would dig deeper. They would find the root meaning hidden inside the word. "Looked at," he gave her a small nod. "We call our Earth," said. The translators hummed louder. The word Earth was simple in human language. It meant soil, ground, the dirt beneath your feet, but the translators were searching for something more. They were looking for the deeper truth. Waited, the other delegates waited. The hall was so quiet that could hear her own heartbeat. Then the screens around the hall flickered. Words appeared in every language known to the galaxy. The translation was complete. Read the words on his screen. His silver scales turned pale. His hands began to shake. "This cannot be correct," he whispered. A delegate from the species stood up. She had 4 arms and skin the color of midnight. "What does it say? What is the meaning?" His voice was weak when he spoke. "The translation gives 3 meanings. The first is simple, ground, soil, land. The second is older, the place of survival. The third is ancient, from before humans had writing." He paused. His yellow eyes looked at with something new in them, fear. "The third meaning is this," said. The world that kills, the place where only the strong survive." Silence fell over the hall. It was not the silence of calm or peace. It was the silence of terror. Stood very still. Her face showed no emotion. Beside her remained quiet, his hands folded behind his back. A delegate from the collective spoke. He was a being made of living crystal, and his voice sounded like breaking glass. "Are a myth. They are stories we tell to frighten children. No species can evolve on and survive long enough to reach the stars." "And yet," said calmly, "here we are." The crystal being made a sound of disbelief. "You lie. Your world must be peaceful, green, safe." "Our world is green," agreed. "It is also violent. It is beautiful and deadly at the same time. Our planet has tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. It has sent ice to freeze us. It has sent fire to burn us. It has sent disease to poison us. It has sent predators to hunt us. And every single time we survived." Finally spoke. His voice was deep and steady. "Our world is not peaceful. Our history is not peaceful. We learn to fight before we learn to speak. We learn to run before we learn to walk. Every human alive today is the descendant of survivors. We carry their strength in our blood. Leaned back in his chair. His scales had not returned to their normal color. Why did you not tell us this before? When you first made contact with the galaxy, why did you hide your nature? Smiled. It was a small smile, but there was something dangerous in it. We did not hide anything, Ambassador. You asked us about our technology. You asked us about our government. You asked us about our trade goods. You never asked us about our world. You never asked us where we came from. Because we assumed, the delegate said slowly, that all intelligent species come from safe worlds, calm worlds, worlds where evolution is gentle. Your assumption was wrong, said. The hall erupted into noise. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded more information. Some demanded proof. Some simply screamed in fear. Raised his hand, and slowly the hall fell quiet again. Admiral, he said, the Council requires evidence. We cannot accept this claim without proof. If what you say is true, then everything we know about life in the galaxy must be reconsidered. Nodded, we expected this. Captain has prepared a data package. It contains everything you need to know about Earth, our history, our biology, our environment, our wars. Stepped forward and placed a small device on the table. It was no larger than his thumb. This contains 10,000 years of human history, he said. I suggest you read it carefully, and I suggest you prepare yourselves. What you learn may disturb you. Reached for the device with trembling hands. The hall watched in silence as he activated it. And in that moment, everything changed. The Galactic Council had ruled for 10,000 years. They had seen species rise and fall. They had survived wars and plagues and disasters of every kind. They thought they knew everything about life in the universe. They were wrong. They had never met a species like humanity. They had never encountered survivors from a. And as the first images from Earth appeared on the screens around the hall, as the delegates saw the storms and the volcanoes and the predators and the endless struggle for survival, they began to understand something terrible. Humans were not weak. Humans were not prey. Humans were something far more dangerous. Humans were survivors. And survivors never quit. The screens around the great hall glowed with light. Every delegate sat frozen in their seat, their eyes fixed on the images appearing before them. No one spoke. No one moved. They simply watched. The first images showed Earth from space. It was a small planet, blue and green and white. It looked peaceful from so far away. It looked like any other world where life might grow. Then the images changed. A massive wave rose from the ocean. It was taller than any building, taller than any mountain on most worlds. It crashed into a coastline and destroyed everything in its path. Cities vanished. Millions died. The wave pulled back, and where there had been life, there was only mud and silence. What was that? The delegate asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. A tsunami, answered. They happen when the ground beneath the ocean moves. We have them often. Often, the word hung in the air like poison. The images continued. A mountain exploded, sending fire and ash into the sky. The ash blocked out the sun for months. Plants died. Animals died. Whole species disappeared from the planet forever. Volcanic eruption, said. Earth has many active volcanoes. The largest ones can change the climate of the entire planet. A delegate from a species called the Fen raised one of his many limbs. He was a soft creature, with a body like jelly and no bones at all. How do you survive such events? How do you rebuild after such destruction? We adapt, said simply. We always have. The images changed again. Now they showed ice. Endless ice covering the land from one horizon to the other. Great sheets of frozen water moved slowly across the surface, crushing everything beneath them. Ice ages, explained. Our planet has gone through many of them. The temperature drops and ice covers much of the world. It stays that way for thousands of years. Thousands of years. The crystal delegate made a sharp sound of disbelief. Your ancestors survived thousands of years of ice. Yes, said. They learned to make fire. They learned to make warm clothing from animal skins. They learned to store food for the long winters. They did whatever they had to do to survive. Leaned forward, his yellow eyes were wide. Show us the predators, show us what hunted your ancestors. Touched a control, and the images changed once more. The hall filled with sounds of terror. A creature appeared on the screen. It was massive, with thick fur and claws longer than a human arm. Its mouth was full of teeth designed for tearing flesh. It stood on its back legs and roared, and even through the speakers, even though it was just a recording, the delegates felt fear. Bear, said, one of many predators that hunted humans. This one weighs over 600 kilograms. The image changed. Another predator appeared. This one was sleek and golden with powerful muscles and yellow eyes. It moved like water, smooth and fast. Lion, said, pack hunter. They work together to bring down prey much larger than themselves. Another image. A creature in the water, gray and enormous, with rows of teeth that could bite through bone. Shark. They have existed on Earth for 400 million years. They have not needed to change because they are already perfect killing machines. The delegates watched in horror as more and more predators appeared on the screens. Wolves, tigers, crocodiles, snakes with poison strong enough to kill in minutes, spiders that could paralyze with a single bite, insects that carried diseases, plants that were toxic to touch. Stop, said. His voice was weak. Please stop. The screens went dark. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then a delegate from the next species spoke. She was small, with delicate wings and large dark eyes. Her people had evolved on a world of eternal spring, where the temperature never changed and predators did not exist. How did your species survive? She asked. You have no claws, you have no fangs, you have no armor, you are small and soft and slow. How did you not go extinct? Looked at her calmly. We used our minds. We could not outrun the predators, so we made traps. We could not fight them with our hands, so we made weapons. We could not survive the cold alone, so we worked together. We formed groups, families, tribes. We protected each other. Nodded. Humans are not the strongest species on Earth. We are not the fastest or the toughest, but we are the most adaptable. We can live anywhere, deserts, jungles, mountains, ice fields, underwater. We even live in space now. We change, we learn, we overcome. The delegate stood up slowly. You said your history contains wars. I wish to see them. Hesitated. Are you certain? Our wars are not like yours. They are not polite conflicts over resources or territory. They are brutal, violent, full of death. Show me, the delegate said. Activated the screens again. The first images showed ancient battles. Humans in metal armor fighting with swords and spears. Blood covered the ground. Bodies lay in piles. Cities burned. Then the weapons changed. Humans learned to use gunpowder. Now they could kill from far away. The battles grew larger. The deaths grew more numerous. Then the weapons changed again. Machines rolled across the land, crushing everything in their path. Aircraft flew overhead, dropping fire from the sky. Ships sailed the seas, carrying destruction to distant shores. And then the images showed something that made every delegate in the hall stop breathing. A great cloud rose from the ground. It was shaped like a mushroom and it glowed with terrible light. Everything beneath it simply ceased to exist. Buildings vanished. People vanished. The ground itself turned to glass. What is that? Asked. His voice was barely audible. Nuclear weapon, said quietly. We created them less than 100 years after we learned to fly. We used them twice in war. Then we built thousands more. The hall erupted in chaos. Delegates screamed. Some tried to leave. Others simply collapsed in their seats. The idea that a species could create weapons capable of destroying entire cities and then build thousands of them was too much to comprehend. Stood up and raised his hands. Order, order in the hall. Slowly the chaos subsided. The delegates returned to their seats, though many were shaking. Admiral said, "Are you telling us that your species possesses weapons capable of destroying worlds?" "Yes," said, "we do." "And you brought such weapons to the galaxy?" "No," said, "we left them on Earth. We decided long ago that some weapons are too dangerous to use, but we still know how to make them. We still remember." The hall was silent. The delegate spoke. His crystal voice was quieter than before. "You are monsters. Your entire species is nothing but violence and death." Turned to face him, her eyes were hard. "We are survivors. There is a difference. We do not seek violence. We do not enjoy killing. But when something threatens us, when something tries to destroy us, we fight back. We fight with everything we have, and we do not stop until the threat is gone." Stepped forward. Every war in our history ended. Every conflict was eventually resolved. We learned from our mistakes. We built systems to prevent future wars. We are not proud of our violence, but we do not hide from it either. It is part of who we are. Sat down heavily in his chair. He looked older than he had at the start of the meeting, tired, afraid. "We must discuss this," he said. "The council must deliberate. You will wait outside while we decide what to do." Nodded. "Of course, Ambassador. Take all the time you need." She turned and walked toward the exit, followed close behind. As they left the hall, they could hear the delegates already arguing. Some wanted to welcome humanity. Others wanted to destroy them before they became a threat. Outside the hall looked at, "Do you think they will accept us?" Smiled. It was a small, tired smile. "They have no choice. They have seen what we are. They know what we can do. They can either be our friends or they can be our enemies. And I think they are smart enough to know which option is safer." Nodded. "I hope you are right." They stood in silence, waiting for the council to decide the fate of humanity. Inside the hall, 400 species debated and argued and screamed at each other. But deep down, they all knew the truth. Everything had changed. They had arrived. Deep beneath the great hall of the Galactic Council, there was a place that few knew existed. It was called the Archive of Forbidden Knowledge. Here, in sealed chambers protected by locks that had not been opened in centuries, the Council kept the secrets they did not want the galaxy to know. Chief Archivist Mora walked through the dark corridors alone. She was old, even by the standards of her long-lived species. Her skin was gray and wrinkled, and her eyes had seen more than any being should see. She had served as archivist for 300 years, and in all that time, she had never received a request like this one. The council wanted everything, every record, every file, every piece of information about a classification called. Mara had hoped she would never hear that word again. She reached a door at the end of the corridor. It was made of black metal and covered in warning symbols. She placed her hand on the lock, and after a moment the door slid open. The room inside was small and cold. Shelves lined the walls, filled with data crystals that glowed with a faint blue light. Each crystal contained information about a different world. Most of them were marked with a red symbol that meant extinct. Mora walked to the shelf at the far end of the room. Here, the crystals were marked with something different, a black symbol, a symbol that meant forbidden. She reached out and took one of the crystals. It was cold to the touch. "Computer," she said, "access archive file 77 alpha, classification, password Night Eternal." The crystal glowed brighter. A voice spoke from the darkness. "Warning. This file contains information classified as dangerous. Reading this file may cause psychological harm. Do you wish to continue?" "Yes," Mora said. The room filled with light. Screens appeared on every wall, showing images and data that had been hidden for 10,000 years. Mara began to read. The first file was about a planet called 4. It had been discovered by the explorers 8,000 years ago. The planet had looked promising. It had water, it had oxygen, it had life. But the life on 4 was not peaceful. Every creature on the planet was designed to kill. The plants had thorns that injected poison. The animals hunted in packs, using sounds to communicate and coordinate attacks. Even the insects were deadly, carrying diseases that could kill in hours. They had sent a team to study the planet, 50 scientists. All of them died within 3 days. Mora scrolled to the next file. This one was about a planet called Vex Prime. It had violent storms that could tear ships from the sky. Its surface was covered in volcanoes that never stopped erupting. The temperature changed by 100 degrees between day and night. A species had evolved there. They had called themselves They were strong and tough, with thick skin and powerful bodies. They had survived their world for 1,000,000 years. Then they had discovered space travel. They had spread through the galaxy like fire. They had conquered 100 worlds in less than a century. They had killed billions. They had shown no mercy, no compassion, no desire for peace. The Council had been forced to destroy them. It had taken the combined forces of 200 species and 20 years of war. When it was over, Vex Prime had been burned until nothing remained. Mara closed her eyes. She remembered that war. She had been young then. She had seen things she still could not forget. She opened the next file. This one was different. It was not a report from the past. It was a prediction from the present. The Council's scientists had analyzed the data that the humans had provided. They had studied Earth's history, its biology, its environment, and they had reached a conclusion. Earth was the most dangerous ever discovered. Mara read the report carefully. Every word made her more afraid. Earth had experienced 5 mass extinctions. 5 times the planet had killed almost all life on its surface, and each time life had returned, stronger, more diverse, more determined to survive. Humans had evolved during the worst of these periods. They had faced ice ages, supervolcanoes, plagues, and predators. They should have died. Every model, every calculation, every scientific prediction said they should have gone extinct. But they did not. Instead, they had done something no other species had ever done. They had conquered their world, not by becoming stronger or faster or tougher. They had conquered it by becoming smarter. They had learned to use tools, simple ones at first, rocks and sticks, then more complex ones, spears and bows, then even more complex, machines and computers and weapons that could split atoms. In just 10,000 years, they had gone from living in caves to walking on their moon. In just 50 more years, they had spread to 47 star systems. The report ended with a single sentence. If humanity chooses war, the galaxy will fall. Mora sat in silence for a long time. Then she gathered the data crystals and walked back to the Great Hall. The council was still arguing when she arrived. 400 delegates, all shouting at each other, all trying to decide what to do about the humans. Mora walked to the center of the room and raised her hand. The hall fell silent. "I have retrieved the requested files," she said. "I have also retrieved files that were not requested, files that have been sealed for 10,000 years, files about other species." Leaned forward. "Other species, there were others." "Yes," Mora said. "There have been 7 species in the history of the galaxy. All of them were dangerous beyond measure. All of them caused great destruction before they were stopped." "Stopped?" the delegate asked. "How were they stopped?" Mara looked at her with tired eyes. "They were destroyed. The council had no choice. They were too dangerous to be allowed to live." The hall erupted in noise. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded that humans be destroyed immediately. Others argued that this was wrong, that humanity had done nothing to deserve such fate. Mara raised her hand again, and slowly the hall quieted. "Before you decide," she said, "you should know something important, something different about humans." "What is different?" asked. Mora took a deep breath. The other species were violent from the moment they achieved space travel. They attacked without reason. They killed without purpose. They saw the galaxy as something to be conquered. She paused. Humans are not like that. They have been among us for 50 years. They have not started a single war. They have not attacked a single species. They have traded. They have negotiated. They have helped worlds in need. The hall was silent. "The humans know what they are," Mora continued. "They know the violence in their nature, but they choose not to use it. They choose peace. They choose cooperation. This makes them unique among all species ever recorded." A delegate from the Nyx species spoke. Her voice was soft and uncertain. "But can we trust them? How do we know they will not turn violent? How do we know they will not decide to conquer us all?" Mora shook her head. "I do not know. I cannot predict the future, but I can tell you what I have learned from studying history." She looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of as many delegates as she could. "The most dangerous thing you can do to a species is threaten them. They are survivors. They fight hardest when they are afraid. If you attack humanity, if you try to destroy them, they will fight back. And they will not stop until one side is completely gone." The delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "But if you welcome them," Mora said, "if you treat them as friends and equals, they will protect you. They will defend you, because that is also part of their nature. They are loyal to those they care about. They will die for their friends." She held up the data crystals. "The choice is yours. You can see humanity as a threat to be destroyed, or you can see them as an ally to be embraced. But whatever you choose, choose carefully, because this choice will determine the fate of the galaxy." She placed the crystals on the table and walked away. Behind her, 400 delegates sat in silence, the weight of the decision pressing down on them like a mountain. They had wanted answers. Now they had them, and they were more afraid than ever. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within hours of the council meeting, every inhabited world knew about the humans. They knew about Earth. They knew about and they were afraid. On the water world the fish-like inhabitants stopped their daily work and gathered around their communication screens. They watched recordings of the council meeting. They saw the images of Earth's predators, its disasters, its wars. They saw the mushroom cloud rising into the sky, and they trembled. On the forest moon of Nyx, the delicate winged people hid in their homes. They sealed their doors and covered their windows. Some of them prayed to their gods for protection. Others simply wept. On the crystal plains the living stone beings debated what to do. Some wanted to build weapons. Others wanted to flee to distant galaxies. None of them could agree, and their arguments shattered the silence of their world like breaking glass. Fear spread through the galaxy like a disease. It touched every species. It infected every world, and it changed everything. Ambassador sat alone in his chamber, staring at the wall. He had not slept since the council meeting. He could not stop thinking about what he had learned. Humans were. They came from a planet that should have killed them 1,000 times over. They had evolved in violence and chaos, surrounded by predators and disasters. They had survived by becoming harder, stronger, more dangerous than anything else on their world. And now they were in the galaxy, spreading, growing, building. What would happen when they decided they wanted more? What would happen when they looked at the peaceful worlds of the galactic community and saw easy targets? What would happen when they unleashed their nuclear weapons on innocent planets? A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he said. The door opened and Admiral walked in. She was alone. No guards, no weapons, no armor, just a small woman in a gray uniform. "Ambassador," she said, "I heard you wanted to see me." Looked at her for a long moment. "I did not send for you." No, agreed. But I knew you would be here alone thinking dark thoughts. I came because I thought you might need to talk. Laughed, it was not a happy sound. Talk, what is there to talk about? Your species is a threat to everything we have built. You are monsters from a nightmare world. How can we possibly trust you? Walked to a chair and sat down. She moved slowly, carefully, like someone approaching a frightened animal. Let me tell you a story, she said. Said nothing, he simply waited. When I was a child, began, I lived in a small village by the sea. It was a beautiful place. The water was blue and the sand was white and the sun was warm. I thought it was the safest place in the world. She paused, looking at something far away. One day a storm came, not a normal storm, a monster storm. The wind tore trees from the ground. The waves grew taller than buildings. My village was destroyed in less than an hour. I am sorry, said quietly. Shook her head. I am not telling you this for sympathy. I am telling you because of what happened next. She looked out with steady eyes. After the storm, people came from all over my country to help. They brought food. They brought medicine. They brought tools to rebuild. Strangers worked side by side day and night until my village was standing again, better than before, stronger than before. Why? Asked. Why would strangers help people they did not know? Because that is who we are, said. Yes, we come from a violent world. Yes, we have war in our history. Yes, we have done terrible things to each other, but we have also done wonderful things. We have helped each other. We have saved each other. We have loved each other. She leaned forward. The violence in our history is not a secret. We do not hide it, but it is not the whole story. For every war there was a peace that followed. For every destruction there was a rebuilding. For every act of cruelty there were 1,000 acts of kindness. Was silent. You fear us because you only see one part of our nature, continued. You see the predator, the warrior, the survivor, but you do not see the other parts, the caretaker, the healer, the friend. She stood up and walked to the window. The stars of the galaxy shone in the darkness beyond. We did not come to the galaxy to conquer. We came because we were curious. We wanted to meet new species. We wanted to learn new things. We wanted to make friends. And if we reject you, asked, if we decide you are too dangerous? Turned to face him. Her eyes were sad but not angry. Then we will leave. We will go back to Earth and to the colonies we have already built. We will not force ourselves on anyone. That is not our way. But the other species said. They were violent, they attacked without warning. We are not them, said firmly. We know our history, we know the darkness inside us, and we have spent thousands of years learning to control it. We have built systems and laws and cultures designed to keep our worst nature in check. We are not perfect. We still make mistakes, but we try. Every day we try to be better than we were the day before. Stood up slowly. He walked to the window and stood beside. Together they looked out at the stars. I want to believe you, he said. But how can I be sure? How can I know that your people will keep their word? You cannot, said. That is the nature of trust. It requires risk. It requires faith. You have to choose to believe in us even though you cannot be certain. And if we choose wrong, smiled, then you will learn something about us. You will learn that we keep our promises. You will learn that we protect our friends. You will learn that the trust you gave us was not wasted. At that moment the door opened again. A tall figure walked in. It was Commander Ho, the third member of the human delegation. He was older than Orr, with gray in his hair and lines on his face. His eyes were calm and wise. Ambassador, he said, the council is ready to vote. They asked me to bring you. Nodded, he looked at one last time. I do not know what the council will decide, he said, but I know what I will vote. And what is that? Asked. I will vote for trust, said. I will vote to give your people a chance, because I believe that the greatest risk is not trusting someone who might hurt you. The greatest risk is refusing to trust someone who might become your greatest ally. He walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Thank you for the story, Admiral. It helped me see more clearly. Bowed her head. Thank you for listening, Ambassador. That is all we have ever asked. Walked out of the chamber, his steps lighter than they had been in days. Behind him, and Ho exchanged glances. Do you think they will accept us? Ho asked. Looked out at the stars. I think they are afraid, but I also think they are wise. They know that fear makes bad decisions. They know that peace is always better than war. And if they choose war, his face grew hard. Then we will survive, as we have always survived, but I do not think it will come to that. She turned away from the window. Come, let us go hear their decision. Whatever it is, we will face it together. They walked out of the chamber side by side, two humans carrying the hope of their entire species on their shoulders. And somewhere in the Great Hall, 400 delegates prepared to cast the most important vote in galactic history. The Great Hall was full. Every seat was taken. Every delegate was present. The air was heavy with tension, thick enough to taste. This was the moment that would decide everything. Admiral stood at the center of the floor with Captain on her left and Commander Ho on her right. They stood tall and straight, their faces calm. Whatever happened next, they would face it with dignity. Ambassador rose from his seat. The hall fell silent. We have debated for 3 days, he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. We have argued and shouted and disagreed, but now we must decide. The question before us is simple. Should humanity be welcomed as full members of the Galactic Council, or should they be rejected and cast out? He paused, looking around the room. Before we vote, the humans have asked to speak one final time. I have granted their request. He gestured toward the center of the floor. Commander Ho stepped forward. He was the oldest of the 3 humans, and there was something in his eyes that spoke of wisdom earned through long years and hard experiences. Thank you, Ambassador, he said. His voice was quiet but clear. I will not take much of your time. He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of as many delegates as he could. You have learned much about humanity in these past days. You have seen our world. You have seen our history. You have seen the violence and the destruction that we are capable of, and you are afraid. No one spoke, no one moved. I understand your fear, Ho continued. If I were in your place, I would be afraid too. You have built something beautiful here, a community of hundreds of species living together in peace. The thought of someone coming to destroy that is terrifying. He clasped his hands behind his back. But I want to tell you something about humanity that the records and the data cannot show you. I want to tell you about our hearts. The hall remained silent. We did not conquer our world through strength alone. We conquered it through love. Some of the delegates shifted uncomfortably. Love was not a word they had expected to hear. When our ancestors faced the ice ages, they did not survive because they were strong. They survived because they took care of each other. The old taught the young. The strong protected the weak. Families stayed together, even when staying together meant sharing food that was already scarce. Ho paused, letting his words sink in. When predators hunted us, we did not fight them alone. We fought them together. We watched each other's backs. We warned each other of danger. We mourned when one of us fell, and we celebrated when one of us survived. We tamed wolves, Ho said. The records showed you that, but they did not show you what it really meant. We took one of our most dangerous predators and made it our friend. We gave it food and shelter. We treated it with kindness. And in return, it gave us loyalty that has lasted for 20,000 years. Stepped forward to stand beside Ho. We still have dogs, he said. Everywhere humans go, dogs go with us. They are not our servants or our tools, they are our family. We love them and they love us. Moved forward as well. That is who we are. Yes, we can fight. Yes, we can destroy, but that is not what we choose. What we choose is connection, companionship, friendship. She looked at. We did not come to the galaxy looking for enemies. We came looking for friends. We came because we have spent our entire existence alone on a hostile world, and we were tired of being alone. We wanted to meet other minds, other souls, other beings who could look at the stars and wonder what was out there. The delegate rose. Her 4 arms were folded across her chest. You speak of friendship and love, but your history is full of war. How do we know you will not turn that violence against us? Nodded. You are right. Our history is full of war, but it is also full of something else, forgiveness. The delegate looked confused. Forgiveness. We have fought terrible wars against each other, said. Wars that killed millions, wars that destroyed entire nations. But after every war we made peace. We forgave our enemies. We helped them rebuild. We turned enemies into allies and allies into friends. She pointed to. His ancestors and mine fought a war against each other. It was brutal and bloody and full of hate. But now our nations are partners. Our people work together, travel together, build together. The war is remembered, but it does not define us. Commander Ho spoke again. That is the true secret of humanity, not our strength, not our violence, our ability to forgive, our ability to move forward, our ability to look at someone who was once our enemy and say, let us start again, let us be friends. The hall was completely silent. Even the delegates who had been most hostile were listening now. We offer you that same friendship, Ho said, not because we are weak, not because we need you, but because we want to know you, we want to learn from you, we want to share what we have learned with you. He spread his hands. We do not ask you to trust us completely. Trust must be earned. We only ask you to give us a chance. Let us prove ourselves. Let us show you who we really are. Stood up, his yellow eyes were thoughtful. And if we say no, if we decide that the risk is too great? Ho lowered his hands. Then we will respect your decision. We will leave peacefully. We will not return unless we are invited. That is our promise. But know this, added. If you ever need us, we will come. If you ever face a threat you cannot handle alone, call for us. We will answer, because that is also who we are. We do not abandon those in need, even if they have rejected us. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then spoke. The vote will now commence. All delegates will indicate their choice. Those in favor of welcoming humanity as full members of the Galactic Council, signal now. Lights began to appear around the hall, green lights indicating yes. They appeared slowly at first. One here, one there, then more, and more. The delegates signaled yes. The next delegate signaled yes. Even the crystal delegate who had called humans monsters, signaled yes. Green lights spread through the hall like stars appearing in the night sky. More and more, hundreds of them. When it was over, looked at the tally. 387 in favor, he announced. 13 opposed. He paused, and for the first time since the meeting began, he smiled. Humanity is hereby welcomed as full members of the Galactic Council. Welcome to the community of stars. The hall erupted in sound. Delegates cheered. Some wept. Others rushed forward to greet the humans, to touch them, to speak to them. Stood still in the center of it all, tears running down her face. Put his hand on her shoulder. Ho closed his eyes and bowed his head. They had done it. They had been accepted. Made his way through the crowd and stood before the 3 humans. I must admit, he said, when this began I thought we would reject you. I thought fear would win. What changed your mind? Asked. Smiled. You did, not your arguments, not your logic, your honesty. You showed us your darkest truths without shame. You admitted your failures without excuse. That takes courage. That takes integrity. He extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. I look forward to learning more about your people, Admiral. I think we have much to teach each other. Took his hand and shook it. "So do I, Ambassador, so do I." Around them, the great hall buzzed with conversation and celebration. For the first time in galactic history, a species had been welcomed in peace. And somewhere on a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, 8 billion humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their representatives had just changed the course of galactic history. They would learn soon enough, and when they did, they would celebrate. Not because they had conquered, not because they had dominated, but because they had made friends. And for humans, there was no greater victory than that. The galaxy had feared but now they knew the truth. Humanity's greatest weapon was not violence. It was love. And that was something no species could ever defeat.